Hello everyone, welcome to the Adroit Things. So a quick demonstration of the effect that I'm going to be making today. So this is a randomized square transition effect. So yeah, you have this neat effect there where you can control its opacity, and the generation of these squares is based on noise, so it's pretty random. You can actually change it using this parameter, so it makes the noise pretty random, and you can control the number of cubes using this filter width parameter here. Yeah, so this is a pretty neat little effect that I'm going to be demonstrating to you guys today.
Okay, let's get started. This is a simple third-person example map that I just duplicated to play around in. So first of all, let's add a material and call it transition effect. Let's get the first texture coordinate, and so the idea is to generate a grid kind of texture on the object first, and then we will see how to go from there. Alright, so first, it's not linear interpolate, so we'll need a linear gradient, and U channel will have a cosine, so that we have something like this. And this gives us the vertical lines. Now if we max out both of these horizontal and vertical UV coordinates, we kind of get a basic square texture. Now we will we want to multiply this to make it look like a grid. So what I'll do for that is I'll create something called divisions. You can call it whatever you want. And I'll just multiply it with the texture coordinate here. Then input this, and obviously we'll have a default value for this. So yeah, you can modify this parameter to increase or decrease your hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we obviously have some kind of issue here. Oh yeah, I forgot. So we decrease these levels here, and the settings will be as follows. So we have this here, and we don't want such a huge, such minute noise here, so we'll give it 0.5 scale value. Yeah, so for some reason making it into a float 2 doesn't work, so we make it a float 3 and connect it to the noise position. So here we have it. So what is going on here right now is we're generating squares in a random location that can be changed using this noise parameter here. So if that changes, squares take a random position. So what's happening here is so basically the texture coordinates vary, range from 0 to 1, but I'm multiplying it with 10 here, so it's multiplied and it ranges now from 0 to 10. So for the range 0 to 1, I'm taking the seal value. So if it's 0 0.2, 0 0.3, 0 0.4, it doesn't matter, it takes 1. So that will be the closest, the highest integer closest to the decimal. Obviously, we'll have a default value for this. So yeah, you can modify this parameter to increase or decrease your grid here. Okay, next what we want to do is generate these grids only in some of the areas of the space, for example. So what we'll do that is take the help of the noise node. So noise node has this position and this filter width parameter. So what I'm going to do is, just bear with me for a second. I'll try to explain it. I'll get the seal. So, and I'll break out the float components, break out the float 2 components, and this position takes a 2 to 3 dimensional vector. So I'll make another float 2 and I'll input this thing here, and so I want to add something to this float 2 here. So bear with me for a second. I'll try to explain what is going on here. So I have a filter width node that adjusts the amount of squares that. So what it essentially does is this float 3 value tries to look up the position that we give to the noise, and it only checks one pixel. So if it is white, it gives us this white color. If it is gray in the position that we give, so it kind of gives us this grayish color. Yeah, so that's basically how it works. Now, we can't work with varying levels of grayness, so we'll seal this also. And so now we have this white randomized squares, and we multiply with this. So it looks something like this. Now we have our random neat little squares here, but it still doesn't look good because there isn't anything separating these two squares here. To make it look even better, let's add those lines now. Now we have these cosine values, and yeah, let's use these values to make these lines even smaller, and that will let us define the borders of our grid. So we'll power it. Let's preview this node. So let's keep it at 75. The same thing we'll do with this thing. We'll put it at 75. Let's arrange it so it looks neat. Okay, now we do the same thing. We max it out. We get the max value of the both, and it looks like this. Now we don't want the whites here, so I'll invert this by doing 1 minus. Now this will end up looking like this. We have these white black patches here, and yeah, let's multiply it. So there you have it. Now you have the lines dividing each square, which is pretty neat. Here's another thing. So right now all the squares are looking exactly the same. They don't have any varying levels of, let's say, opacity that we see over here. So one in here, one square is white and gray, and some of them have varying levels of blackness. So to get that thing, let's multiply this thing with this and input this here. Now we have our squares with varying levels of translucency, varying levels of opacity. And one more thing I forgot to do this before, yeah. So we need to convert this shader into a translucent shader. Okay, so our first step is done. Now we need to determine uh, the bounds of this effect. We need to determine the bounds where this effect is going to appear. So we're going to be using box mask for that. Alright, now we go and make a box mask. So it will be a box mask 3D. And for this, we're going to be adding the pixel position. That will be the absolute world position. And okay, so for now, let's have a vector here. That says position, and another vector for the bounds. So let's give it a value of 15 to start with. 15, 15, and 15. So and if I preview this, we get a small square here. Let's increase it a bit. Yeah, that will do for now. Okay. Let's have another scalar parameter to modify the edge fall off. So that will be your hardness here. And default value, let's give it, what if I give it 50? So we have this nice smooth little fall off. Now what we're basically trying to do here is try to get a ring in which all the effect happens. So to do that, we need another box mask. So we need another box mask, and this two coordinates will be the same. And for the bounds, let's add it. Let's add some value and connect this here, and that value will be our edge radius. Let's connect it. Let's let it have the same hardness. Okay. Ooh. So now, if I give it a value bigger than this, bigger than 25, So we have this big square and we have this small square here, and what we're trying to do is get a black area over here so that our effect can appear only in this portion. First, I would like to have more control over this fallout value over here. So for that, I'll have the power and have a scalar that says edge power connected, and I'll do the same thing here. Apologize about my naming since I realize it's not the best in the world. Okay, so I'll negate this and let's multiply. Okay, let's see. This should be 1 and this should be 1. Now we have our neat little cube area where our effect can appear. Okay, now we have to combine these two things. Let's see how we do that. Let's just add it first. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, it looks pretty neat. Let's just increase this bounds a bit more. Let's give it 50, 50, and 50. A bit more. Let's give it 100, why not? Okay, so like I said, we only want our effect to appear in this area. So what we will do is get this value here and multiply it with this one. So as you can see, this will give our effect, this will have our effect only appear in this area over here. Now we add it to this, and if you preview this, yeah, so we have this neat little effect here. Let's add it to our opacity, because in the end this will be our opacity. This is all we're going to see. We won't see this black patch over here. Yeah, looks pretty neat. It looks black because I haven't added any base color over the emissive color. So that's what we're going to be doing next. Okay, let's add a color node. Let's give it a bright yellowish color. And now, okay, so let's see what we have to multiply it with. Okay, so yeah, we multiply with this. I'm a bit confused here. Wait a second. Okay, so we multiply with this thing here, and we also need to multiply this with the color. And we basically have to add these both up. Right, so this gives us this look. So we can have a boost here to make the inner squares more prominent, but let's wait for a while and let's wait for a while before we do that. Okay, so next let's have more control over the emission property. I'm sorry, emission. So let's give it a nice emissive color right now. Uh, let's name it emissive color. It's not quite, it's color. And emission boost. Let's give it a scalar parameter. Okay, now so basically what we want to do right now is we want to get the grid so that it appears on this border here. So this is how we are going to do it. Let's give the emission boost of 1 and 2. Let's multiply. Let's take this and multiply it with this. Okay. Now there we have it. This is a bit too bright. Let's just decrease it a little bit so that it looks a bit like. Okay, now we also need uh, to take this. We also need to take our border and multiply with the emissive color. Let's do that. Okay, so now our border is also colored. I will have to multiply this with this. So kind of looks like this one. So there you have it. We have a pretty neat looking border here. Okay, so from here we'll just boost our emission if we choose to. And so what do we have here? Right, now we have this grid kind of thing here, and we have our edge here. So let's add them both. We have our effect looking like this. We have our grid lines appearing just a little bit on our border here. Okay, now we need to connect it to the emissive and let's see how it looks. Okay, it looks pretty dull. Let's increase our emission. See how it looks. You know what, it still looks pretty dull, so let's uh, multiply, let's say with 4, and let's connect this and see how it looks. And I also want to multiply this thing uh, with the base color to give it a slight boost to the base color also. mm, yeah, yeah, so it looks a lot better now. Now there's one more thing I would like to do. I would take this thing here and it's still okay. Uh, so as you can see here, so we want this effect to take priority. We want this effect to appear on top of these squares here. So to do that, I would go about doing it this way. So I'll take the max value and this, I'll put it here. And I'll give this to a miso color. It's not very clear over here, but let's go and check in the editor. Right. Okay, I did a small mistake here. So this multiply node should be connected to this one. So we're connecting our multiply node to this box mask here, so that all our cubes inside it will be visible, and this takes the max of this selects the maximum value of this and feeds it to the emissive color. And so we're almost done with our effect. I'm not sure why this is looking exactly too bright. Give me a second. Okay, I did a small mistake here. So this multiply node should be connected to this one. So we're connecting our multiply node to this box mask here, so that all our cubes inside it will be visible, and this takes the max of this selects the maximum value of this and feeds it to the emissive color. And so we're almost done with our effect. I'm not sure why this is looking exactly too bright. Give me a second. We'll just read this directly and we don't have to multiply it. It looks a lot better that way. Okay, and one last thing I want to do is animate these squares inside this uh, box. Let's do that now. So we go to our texture coordinate and let's get a time node. So we want an x speed and we want a y speed. Okay, so let's multiply this with this and this with this one and make flow 2, connect it. Let's add it to our texture coordinate. So there you go. Our little cubes here now animate. So let's create a material instance for this. So it will be transition effect instance, and I'd like to do one more thing. So go to materials, create a material parameter collection, name it transition collection, and I want to add a position parameter here. Save it, and I will go to this position. Uh, and I will delete this. Yeah, I'll delete this position vector and add a material parameter collection. So let's specify this transition collection and have a position and input this to our box mask. Alright, let's save this effect. Okay. Okay, now I'll just add this to the cube here, and as you can see, nothing is visible right now. So to have more control over this, I'll create a blueprint. Let's call this position. Why not? Okay, in the construction script, now I'll say set vector parameter value, and the collection will be the transition collection, and the parameter name is position. I'll get the actor's location, and I'll just input it here. Save it, and let's have this thing here. Oh my god. So I can't find my cube. Oh, here it is. There you go. So we can change this using our position here. Let's try editing the values. Let's enable the bounds, color, emissive color, emissions edge. Let's just enable everything. I'll increase my scale. Okay. So first, let's check the divisions. Yeah. So Pretty neat. The divisions work. And the bounds. Obviously it works. Let's try increasing the edge power and increase this a bit, hardness power, and increase our bounds. Yeah, so there you have it. So this will be a good starting point for the effect. So we can build up on this in a lot of ways. So one thing I would do is have a diffuse texture and the normal, and yeah, we can have an MRI here. Uh, we can have those three textures if we want, and we can uh, blend between this effect and the actual material, or we can have this as a post-processing effect. Yeah, so that will be a topic for another video. Hope you guys enjoyed this. See ya.